But what was so funny, you almost got kicked out.
Yes.
Tell them what happened.
Well, I was kind of curious. I a big time DJ, and it was fascinating to me. So I went to the restroom, and I was coming back to the tables, and to get there, I went behind the DJ, and I stood there for about 5 minutes just watching him. You know, Wilson, my son, has gotten into that, and it's just fascinating to watch him work through little dials and everything. And so I was standing there watching him for about 5 minutes, and the security guard comes up and he goes, "You can't be here." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "I'm just going back to the table there." And he goes, "Well, you're not allowed back here. It's against the rules." I said, "Okay, I'm sorry." And he goes, "You ever been here before?" And I said, "To the Edge?" And he goes, "No, to New York." I said, "Many times." He goes, "Well, you don't act like it." I said, "Okay, fine. I'm just going back to my table." So I went back, and one of the guys we were with, and this is pretty loud. So I went up to him. I said, "You're not going to believe this. This guy, instead of letting me walk like a minute to get to the table, he wanted me to go all the way around, which he made me do, all the way around the crowd, which is like 15 minutes to, kind of weave in and out and get back to the table." I said, I can't believe that. And all of a sudden the guy's standing there, and he goes, "I can hear you." And I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, you don't understand the rules." And I could tell he was getting worked up. And I said, "Look, I'm sorry." I said, "But all I was trying to do is get back to the table." And I said, "It just didn't make any sense to me. I had to walk all the way around the crowd instead of walking 15 feet to the table." "Well, those are the rules, and I'm just doing my job." I said, "You're right. You're doing your job. I apologize." So then he kind of backed off a little bit. And what's funny, about an hour later, we're getting ready to leave, and he comes up again, and I'm thinking, "Oh gosh, here we go." And he said, "I just realized you look a lot like the Universal CEO." And I looked at him and I said, "I do, don't I?" And he goes, "I am so sorry. I had no idea. I profusely apologize. I shouldn't have talked to you that way." I said, No. You were just doing your job." I said, and I appreciate that, and I commend you for that." And he goes, "Well, I just started with a company. I really appreciate the job. Can't thank you enough." And I said, "It's no worries." I said, "You're a good employee. I can tell already." And I said, "Doing your job, that's what you're supposed to do." And he goes, "Are you coming back next weekend, some event or something?" I said, "No, we're heading back to California." And then we left. And the story, I mean, I never told him I was a Universal CEO.
You just said, "Yeah, I do look like him."
I do look like it.
Which we Googled it.
Yeah, and
we looked it up, and
yeah.
you did look like him.
So anyway, it was funny. And as we were leaving, we got a good laugh out of that.
Yeah, that was the funniest story.